Ukrainian jet strike, Russian drone factory. Then this happened. On June 27, 2025, at 14:45 local time, a Ukrainian MiG-29 from the 40th Tactical Aviation Brigade cut sharply across the horizon. What started as a routine flight over contested airspace was about to turn into one of the most daring missions of the war. Within seconds, alarms blared, radars locked, and the pilot was thrown into a deadly game of survival. His target? A heavily protected Russian drone factory producing up to 40 Shahad 136 drones every week, the very drones raining destruction on Ukrainian cities. The outcome of this strike would change the course of electronic warfare and demonstrate the power of battlefield improvisation. The setup. For weeks, Ukrainian intelligence had been monitoring the facility deep inside Russian-occupied territory, approximately 350 kilometers behind enemy lines. The site was guarded by a dense network of S-300 and S-400 missile systems, SA-15 mobile units, and a Krasuka-4 electronic warfare vehicle pumping out 500 watts of GPS jamming interference. Taking out this target was nearly impossible on paper, but Ukrainian planners saw an opening. A 90-second corridor of vulnerability existed within the overlapping radar coverage zones, an opportunity only the bravest pilot could exploit. The MiG-29 carried 4 American-made GBU-39 small-diameter bombs, SDBs. But here's the catch. The Soviet-era fighter had not been designed to carry these weapons. Ukrainian engineers working under battlefield conditions had wired improvised pylons, cobbled together from salvaged tank parts, and linked them through a tablet-based interface. It was a marriage of Western precision weapons and Ukrainian ingenuity, all tested under the most hostile electronic environment on Earth, into the danger zone. At 14:48, after minutes of tension, the pilot finally saw the 4 bombs display green lights, GPS locked, calibrated, and mission ready. He was now on the clock. With a 2,100-kilometer fuel range, the mission would leave him with only 18 minutes over hostile territory before fuel ran too low to return. Worse, his radar warning receiver, RWR, screamed again, and S-300 radar had painted his aircraft from 95 kilometers away, while an SA-15 system swept in from the southeast. To stay alive, he dove to 500 feet, hugging the terrain. For the next several minutes, his fate would be decided by split-second navigation through valleys, ridgelines, and power lines not even visible in pre-mission planning. Drift too far left, he'd be vaporized by the S-300. Drift too far right, an SA-15 would lock and fire. He was threading a needle through the most dangerous airspace on the planet, the electronic storm. At 15:15, the MiG-29 banked into an 8-kilometer-wide corridor between overlapping Russian radar zones. This gap existed due to radar physics. It was a narrow blind spot, but Russian mobile units were on alert. At 15:18, his RWR detected new activity. An SA-15 radar had gone active, probing for exactly the tactic he was using. To make matters worse, the Krasuka-4 EW system near the target began flooding GPS frequencies with interference, blanketing L1 and L2 bands with raw power. Any ordinary weapon would have been blinded, flying aimlessly off course. But the GBU-39s were not ordinary. They carried hardened inertial navigation systems, INS, capable of transitioning seamlessly when GPS failed. American engineers had designed these bombs with Russian jamming in mind. The climb. At 15:22, the pilot initiated a risky climb to 15,000 feet, the altitude required to release the GBU-39s with their full 110 kilometers glide range. Immediately, multiple fire control radars lit him up, including the S-400's Gravestone radar, its emissions so powerful that they physically heated the MiG's radome. He had 90 seconds before he entered their missile engagement zone. Ukrainian electronic warfare teams were jamming nearby radars, while decoy strikes from Su-24s earlier in the day had temporarily blinded Russian defenses to the northwest. Every move had been choreographed to create this sliver of opportunity. His cockpit display showed just 12 minutes of fuel remaining for the return trip. The margin for error had vanished. Weapon release. At 15:28 local time, the MiG-29 pilot released the first GBU-39. The jet shuddered as 250 pounds of precision steel dropped free. Its GPS immediately registered heavy jamming, but within milliseconds, it switched to inertial guidance. The second, third, and fourth bombs followed, each deploying wings 2.7 seconds after release, transforming into sleek gliders capable of 20-to-1 lift-to-drag ratios. Their onboard computers calculated staggered approach paths, converging on the drone factory from multiple angles. Within moments, the MiG rolled inverted, diving back toward the ground to escape. Russian SA-15 batteries launched missiles, but physics was against them. The MiG would vanish behind terrain before their interceptors could arrive. Impact on the drone factory. The bombs glided silently at 180 meters per second, navigating by comparing accelerometer data against pre-programmed waypoints. Despite the blinding jamming, the inertial navigation remained accurate to within 12 meters. At 15:32 and 44 seconds, the first bomb struck the assembly building. Its infrared seeker detected the heat contrast of the metal roof and angled down at 68 degrees for maximum penetration. The explosion tore through machinery, halting production instantly. Seconds later, the second bomb slammed into the electronics workshop. This building had been the brain of drone operations, programming stations where the blast destroyed racks of circuit boards and wiped out the nerve center that turned Shahed drones into precision guided. At 15:33 and 41 seconds, the third bomb hit the storage warehouse. Intelligence suggested up to 20 completed Shahed 136 drones were inside. Each drone carried 40 kilograms of explosives, a secondary detonation that produced a fireball towering 3,000 feet into the sky. Fuel, spare parts, and millions in logistics infrastructure vaporized. The fourth bomb double-tapped the smoldering remains, ensuring no recovery was possible. Russian response. Inside the Krasuka-4 vehicle, operators realized too late their jamming had failed. They had been outmatched not by brute force, but by engineering foresight. The GBU-39s had been designed specifically to resist Soviet-era jamming, and the Russians were left watching helplessly as their defenses collapsed. By 15:34, the MiG-29 was racing home at 400 feet altitude, with only 750 kilograms of fuel left. Russian SA-15 batteries launched interceptors, and two Su-35 fighters scrambled to pursue. But geography was on Ukraine's side. Flying low through a river valley, the MiG disappeared from radar. The Russian missiles lost lock and self-destructed in midair. The Su-35s, needing 8 minutes to intercept, were forced to abandon the chase due to fuel constraints. Aftermath. Post-strike analysis revealed devastating results. The GBU-39s had destroyed the core of the drone facility, wiped out completed drones, and crippled programming capabilities. The Krasuka-4 jamming system, though functioning perfectly, had been completely outmaneuvered by the bomb's navigation resilience. American engineers' decades of studying Russian EW tactics had paid off. For Ukraine, the mission was more than just a tactical victory. It showcased how a 40-year-old MiG-29, retrofitted with improvised wiring and Western weapons, could achieve results once thought impossible. It was proof of ingenuity, determination, and adaptation under fire. The Ukrainian strike on June 27, 2025, was not just another mission. It was a masterclass in modern warfare. It revealed how outdated platforms could be reborn with innovation, how precision weapons could overcome electronic storms, and how courage could exploit even the narrowest gaps in enemy defenses. The destruction of the Russian drone factory weakened a critical supply chain and gave Ukrainian civilians a temporary reprieve from relentless attacks. In the end, this mission wasn't about 4 bombs or a single MiG-29. It was about resilience, about refusing to yield in the face of overwhelming odds, and about proving to the world that sometimes the smallest margins of opportunity can deliver the greatest victories. What do you think about this daring mission? Was it Ukraine's most impressive airstrike of the war so far? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories of modern warfare, daring operations, and the technology shaping today's battlefields.